working, and we would die after some weeks or maybe months without flesh. Many of us eat raw flesh or other things which would be disgusting to you. Personally, I prefer cooked flesh and surface fruits like apples or oranges. Question: can you tell me something about the natural history and evolution of your species? How old is your species? Have you evolved from primitive reptiles as mankind has evolved from apes? Answer: oh, this is a very long and complex story, and it sounds certainly unbelievable to you, but it's the truth. I will try to explain it in short. Around 65 million years ago, many of our unadvanced ancestors from the dinosaur race died in a great global cataclysm. The reason for this destruction was not a natural disaster, an asteroid impact as your scientists believe falsely, but a war between two enemy alien groups that took mainly place in the orbit and high above atmosphere of your Earth. According to our limited knowledge about the early days, this global war was the first alien war on planet Earth, but it was definitely not the last. And a future war is coming soon, while a Cold War, as you call it, between alien groups is ongoing since the last 73 years on your planet. The opponents in this 65-million-year-old war were two advanced alien species whose both names are again not pronounceable for your tongues. I'm able to say them, but it would hurt your ear if I tell you the names in their original way. One race was humanoid like your species, but much older, and was from this universe, from a solar system in the star constellation you call Procyon today on your maps. The other species, about which we know not so much, was a reptilian species, but they have nothing to do with our own species because we have evolved from local saurians without exterior influence, except the successful manipulation of our own genes by us. More about that later. The advanced reptilian species came not from this universe, but from how should I explain it to you? Your scientists have not really understood the true nature of the universe because your illogical mind is not able to see the easiest things and relies on the wrong mathematics and numbers. This is part of the genetic programming of your kind, to which I will come later. Let me say that you are nearly as far away from the understanding of the universe as you were 500 years ago. What an insult! To use a term you will maybe understand, the other species came not from this universe, but from another bubble in the foam of the omniverse. You will call it maybe another dimension, but this is not the right word to describe it correctly. By the way, the term dimension is generally wrong in the way you understand it. The fact you should remember is that advanced species are able to walk between bubbles by the use of, as you would call it, quantum technology, and sometimes in special ways, only by use of their mind. My own species had also advanced mental abilities in comparison to your species, but we are not able to do the matter string bubble changing without technology, but other species active on this planet are able, and this looks to you like magic as it had to your ancestors. Back to our own history, the first species, the humanoids, had reached Earth around 150 years before the reptilians, and they built some colonies on the former continents. There was a large colony on the continent you call Antarctica today, and another one on the continent you call Asia today. These people lived together with animal-like saurians on the planet without problems. When the advanced reptilian species arrived in this system, the humanoid colonists from Procyon tried to communicate peacefully, but they were not successful, and a global war started within months. You must understand that both species were interested in this young planet not for its biology and undeveloped species, but for only one reason: raw materials, especially copper. To understand this reason, you must know that copper is a very important material for some advanced species even today, because it is, together with some unstable materials, able to produce new stable elements if you induce a high electromagnetic field in the right angle with a high nuclear radiation field to produce an overcrossing of fluctuating fields. The fusion of copper with other elements in such a magnetic radiation field chamber can produce a force field of special nature that is very useful for various technological tasks. But the base for this is an extremely complex formula that you are not able to discover because of the restrictions of your simple mind. Both species wanted to have the copper of planet Earth, and for this reason they fought a not very long war in space and orbit. The humanoid species seemed to be successful during the first time, but in the last battle the reptilians decided to use a mighty experimental weapon, a kind of fusion bomb which should destroy the life forms on the planet but should not harm the valuable raw materials in the copper. The bomb was fired from space and detonated at a point of your planet, oh, it's our planet now, you call Middle America today. As it detonated in the ocean, it produced an unpredictable fusion with hydrogen, and the effect was much stronger than the reptilians had expected. A deadly radiation, an overproduction of fusion oxygen, a fallout of different elements, and a nuclear winter for nearly 200 years were the results. Most of the humanoids were killed, and the reptilians lost their interest in the planet after some years for unknown reasons, unknown even to us. Maybe because of the radiation. Planet Earth was on its own again, and the animals on the surface died. By the way, one result of the fusion bomb was the fallout of different elements of materials created in the burning process, and one of that materials was iridium. Your human scientists today see the iridium concentration in the ground as an evidence for an asteroid impact that killed the dinosaurs. That is not true. But how should you know that? Well, most of the dinosaurs died, not all in the detonation, but in the bad things which came after the war, especially in the nuclear winter and in the fallout. Nearly all dinosaurs and reptilians were dead within the next 20 years. Some of them, especially those in the oceans, were able to survive for the next 200, 300 years, even in this changed world. But these species also died because the climate had changed. The nuclear winter ended after 200 years, but it was colder on Earth than before. Despite the cataclysm, some species were able to survive. Fish like sharks, birds, little creepy mammals, your ancestors, various reptiles like crocodiles, and there was a special kind of small but advanced dinosaurs which had developed together with the last large animal reptilians like the species you call Tyrannosaurus. This new reptile was walking on two legs and looking a bit like your reconstruction of an iguanodon. It originated in this family, but it was smaller, about 1.5 meters tall, with some small humanoid features, a changed bone structure, a larger skull and brain, a hand with a thumb which was able to grab things, a different organism and digestion, advanced eyes in the middle of the head like your eyes, and most important, with a new and better brain structure. This was our direct ancestor. There are theories that the radiation from the bomb took part in the mutations of the organism of this new breed, but this is not proven. Nevertheless, this little humanoid-like dinosaur evolved during the following 30 million years. As I have said earlier, a species needs generally more time to evolve than you think, if the evolution is not artificially induced, like in your case, from the animal to a more or less thinking being. These beings were intelligent enough not to die in the next millions of years, because they learned to change their behavior. They lived in caves instead of in the cold nature, and they learned to use stones and branches as first tools, and the use of fire as help, to warm them, especially to warm their blood, which is very important for our kind to survive. During the next 20 million years, this species was divided by nature into 27 subspecies. Unfortunately, former reptilian species were prone to divide themselves in a more or less illogical way into subspecies during the evolution process. You can clearly see this in the unnecessary high number of animal dinosaur species in earlier times. And there were many, mainly primitive, wars between this subspecies for dominance. Well, nature was not very friendly to us, and as far as we know, from the 27 species, 24 were extincted in primitive wars and in evolution because their organism and mind were not developed enough to survive. And as main reason, they were not able to change their blood temperature in the right way when the climate changed. 50 million years after the war, and after the end of dinosaurs, only 3, now also technological, advanced reptilian species were remaining on this planet, together with all the other lower animals. Through natural and artificial crossbreedings, these 3 species were united into one reptilian species. And through the invention of genetic manipulations, we were able to eliminate the dividing-prone genes in our genetic structure. According to our history and belief, this was the time when our final reptilian race, as you see me today, was created by use of genetic engineering. This was around 10 million years ago, and our evolution nearly stopped at this point. Well, actually, there were some minor changes in our look toward a more humanoid and mammal-like appearance during the coming ages, but we have not divided again into subspecies. You see, we are a very old race in comparison to your kind, which was jumping around as small monkey-like animals in the trees at this time while we invented technology, colonized other planets in this system, built large cities on this planet, which disappeared without a trace in the ages, and engineered our own genes, while your genes were still those of animals. Ha! 10 million years ago, the small simians started to grow, and they came down from the trees to the ground, again because of the change of the climate, especially on the so-called African continent. But they evolved very slow, as it is normal for a mammal, and if nothing extraordinary had happened to your kind, we wouldn't be able to sit here and talk, because I would sit at my comfortable modern house, and you would sit in your cave clothed with fur, trying to discover the secrets of fire, or you would maybe sit in one of our zoos. Ha! But the things had developed differently, and you believe now that you are the crown of creation, and you can sit in the modern house, and we must hide and live beneath the earth in remote areas. Around 1.5 million years ago, another alien species arrived at Earth. It was surprisingly the first species since over 60 million years. This would be more surprising for you if you would know how many different species are here today. The interest of this humanoid species, you call them Elohim today, was not the raw material and the copper. It was, to our astonishment, the unadvanced ape humanoids. Despite our presence on this planet, the aliens decided to help the apes to evolve a little bit faster, to serve them in the future as some kind of slave race in coming wars. The fate of your species was not really important for us, but we didn't like the presence of the Elohim on our planet, and they didn't like our presence on their new galactic zoo planet. And so your 6th and 7th creation was the reason for a war between us and them. You can read about that war, for example, partly in the book you call the Bible, in a very strange way of description. The real truth is a very long and difficult story. Should I continue?